Jim Rowan, how's it going? Bonus episode, bonus episode. Well, kind of. It's also kind of because I skipped a couple of weeks. But that wasn't my fault. I've addressed this before. It's Sunday. It's the 3rd of January. I released an episode yesterday, but it was catching up on Best of Super Juniors, which ended 4 weeks ago. So, nah, fair enough. I'll be caught up with this one though. I've got a lot that I have gotten through and will go through with you today on this kind of cloudy, but not a bad day. Morning, nice. Probably pretty hot. Haven't been out there yet. Been working on this. And of course, so 2 weeks ago I covered the World Tag League. Sorry, not 2 weeks ago. It was last week. And then yesterday I covered Best of Super Juniors. But I only covered the round matches for each of those two. So, today we will begin by going through the final card. The combined World Tag League and Best of Super Juniors finals from Budokan Hall in Tokyo with, you know what, not a bad attendance. It looks like a decent audience there. So that's cool. Even if they can't cheer and boo and whatnot, it's still nice to have a bit of atmosphere. Kind of wish I could make this podcast, these recordings, a bit more atmospheric, but you do with what you've got. So, the first match on this card, this was back on the 11th of December. It is December, right? Yeah, it was December. Okay. I'm not that far behind. The 11th of December, we first out of Budokan Hall had the match 6-man tag. Taiji Ishimori, Chase Owens, and Bad Luck Fale taking on Robbie Eagles, Sho, and Toru Yano. I would say Toru Yano. So, Bullet Club jumped the Chaos Buddies. There's some silly antics between Yano and Fale to start. Sho and Taiji take themselves a bit more seriously next. As to Eagles and Owens, when Owens takes the advantage, he calls in Fale to hit the grenade launcher, and despite it being a bit of a sloppy one, it's enough to beat Eagles. Not sure where his teammates were. That's all there was to this match, actually. And then afterwards, Yano tries to body slam Fale, and then Fale grabs his trophy and stomps on it. So, if they were setting up at the time I thought, God, are they setting up a dome match between these two? Because that's pretty underwhelming. But it turns out that's not the case. Anyway, it was Owens that pinned Eagles in that one. And backstage, Yano is upset about his trophy. Eagles is sick of his predictions not coming true. He appreciated Despy's kind words, but still doubts himself. If you don't recall from yesterday's episode, he said something to the effect of, Despy this is, said something to the effect of, Robbie Eagles, he should feel like he belongs. He also took the opportunity to take a shot at Bushi, but that's irrelevant to this. And then I thought Sho was wearing eyeliner, but it looks like he's got a bit of a black eye. But Sho says he wishes he was in the final, but he's not particularly interesting, so that's about it. And neither is Ishimori, so we'll skip him. Owens said that that's what you call chemistry and teamwork. And then Fale does officially challenge Yano to a body slam match. And they don't even know what the title's called. They don't seem to care about the King of Pro Wrestling title. Thanks, Okada, for putting that one over so strong. Next up, speaking of the man, Okada, Tanahashi, and Hanare take on Great Khan, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay, who was accompanied by B. Priestley. And I don't know if this is new. I mean, I know it has to be new to some degree, but I don't know if it was new on this episode. But they have a real bad pop rock song as their Empire entrance theme. But this is their first appearance together collectively, so it's like for a match that they're all in. So yeah, I think that might be their entrance music. Hopefully they work on that, or just disband as a group because it sucks. But either way. So in this one, Khan has he has his funny hat back and his question mark napkin and his gold robe. So maybe that fan that was wearing it was just keeping it safe for him. Like maybe that was the real outfit. And I think he was doing I don't mention it here, but I think he was doing his drunk walk too. Like he only does that when he's wearing his gold robe. If he wears his blue robe, he's just kind of casual. See what he does. Oh, imagine him doing that walk all the way down the Wrestle Kingdom ramp. I think you should think about that pretty carefully. So Ospreay and Okada run at each other straight away, swinging. Tanahashi tries to take revenge on Khan for delivering their quickest defeat, if you recall, from a week ago. Quickest defeat in the Tag League this year. Well, not this year today, but, So he's doing some kicks to the knee. He's got some help there from Hanare. Khan comes back with a knee bar, but Tana manages to get to the ropes, only for Cobb to take over the targeted assault. So they're all ganging up on Tanahashi's knee. Ospreay joins in too, but then finally Okada receives the hot tag. Cobb and Hanare get in there and blast each other, both with eyes for Shingo's openweight title. Insane deadlift belly to belly by Cobb, but Hanare then lifts up Cobb too for a Samoan drop, earning a 2 count. By now Tanahashi has recovered, hits a sling blade with a leg sweep from Hanare, kind of like a total elimination. The ECW tag champs, the Eliminators, if you remember that move. And that one needs to be broken up. Khan counters Tanahashi's another move with a knee bar. Cobb hits Tour of the Islands on Hanare, and that's the winning move. But that doesn't stop Khan's assault. Okada has to come and make the save on that. Ospreay hits a huge actually, Oz cutter. He gets some massive height on the springboard, hits the Oz cutter on Okada, and then Khan takes a chair to Tanahashi's knee. And then, according to Chris Charlton, Khan yells out, "Power of the Empire!" In Japanese, of course, otherwise I wouldn't need a translation. And then they just do their little pose, and yeah, that's kind of the first sign that we're getting O-Khan versus Tanahashi. Or maybe not the first sign, but yeah, that's what they were leading toward the Tag League as well, but now it's becoming a bit more clear exactly the plan. So yeah, Cobb pinned Hanare in that one, and backstage Okada hasn't been here in a while. He is here to beat Ospreay. He wants to main event the card. Oh, he just wants to main event again, not necessarily the card coming up, but just for the IWGP title. He wants to be back in the picture again. And then his one-time rival, Tanahashi, collapses in front of him. But Okada continues that some fans aren't happy with the current title picture, and it's his job to bring it back. And Tanahashi understands this to be a brutal sport, but he believes what just happened went too far. He wants to channel his anger toward O-Khan and face him in a match. There you go. Hanare calls Khan a coward and says he looks like Android 19, which is the fat one that Vegeta, like one of the best Dragon Ball Z scenes ever, is Vegeta beating Android 19.
Does a machine like yourself ever experience fear?
And then he does his whole thing. Was that a good impression? I gotta listen to this back. Right, and then he says Cobb took his match with Shingo. He has heard people say he should join the Empire, and he says he would lose 1,000 times without considering it. And he might actually do. Cobb, I hope not though, I like Hanare. Cobb takes over the interview for some reason. He ends it early to go find himself a match, which is good. Yeah, he leaves. That's good. And then Khan says if Tanahashi bows his head to him, then Khan will accept the challenge. Raise a glass and toast to the Empire seems to be the catchphrase. And their hand symbol is the last three fingers, pinky onward. I suppose that that represents an E. And then, yeah, this is just creativity end to end with this group. There's a little announcement before the next match as well. Kevin Kelly announces that he will be live in the Tokyo Dome with Rocky Romero and Chris Charlton to call the action from ringside. Not bad. Pretty good. Alright, next match. Yujiro Takahashi and Evil with Dick Togo versus Sanada and Shingo Takagi. Bullet Club are quick to attack and begin cheating. Does that surprise you? Shouldn't. Togo chokes Sanada out on the ramp while Evil takes cheap shots. Shingo is reportedly top of New Japan this year in the number of wins he's had. That's a pretty cool stat. Just as things are getting completely out of control, Sanada makes the save and is showing rare aggression. He launches at Evil, throws punches from the top before shooting him hard into the barricade twice and continuing to punch him in the head. Meanwhile, Takagi beats Yujiro with Last of the Dragon, but Sanada will not let anyone stop him. He's throwing young lions and referees everywhere, even bypassing Shingo to continue the fight. They're fighting all the way up the ramp, and there's another Wrestle Kingdom match right there. Speaking of which, Cobb comes back out to confront Shingo. As if it was needed, he picks up the belt and appears to have a loose grip on it, so Shingo kind of smiles and tries to take it, but he can't, and his facials are great. The crowd laugh because he's like, oh my god, this guy's grip is insane. But Cobb pulls him in, takes him on tour, and there's another match. But the match just gone, Takagi pinned Yujiro. And then backstage, Sanada is still chasing Evil. Evil, this isn't in like the promo area or the press area, but they've kind of separated, and Evil says they can fight any time as he very clearly backs off. And pretty quickly, quick in doing so. Sanada doesn't say anything, he just kind of, Evil got away, he gives up the chase, he's like, whatever, cool. And then, oh no, Cobb's back. He tells the dragon to bring the fire. And Shingo calls Cobb the Anpan Man, which I looked up, of course, why wouldn't I? The Anpan Man is a children's superhero in Japan whose head is a bun filled with red bean paste. So the translation for Anpan Man would be Bean Bun Man. So that's Cobb, Bean Bun Man, and Shingo accepts the challenge for his Never title from Bean Bun Man. And then there's another announcement in between matches, delivered by the Japanese Don King, who's just, I guess, some kind of Japanese comedian that dresses up like Don King, and it's just kind of a little vignette about himself that he's going to be there at the Tokyo Dome. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but whatever, I'm not against it yet. Next match we got here is the last match of, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say the last match of little consequence, but we're setting up matches here. It's actually an important card. So we've got Master Wado with Tenzan by his side and Kota Ibushi versus Bushi and Tetsuya Naito. So it's the marquee men that go at it first. Not quite with the vigor that Okada and Ospreay did, but that's Ibushi and Naito to start things. Definitely saving themselves for their match, I felt, but considering how nuts they are, I'm fine with that. Then Wado gets in, he hits an awesome corkscrew plancha on Naito, while a Kamigoye ends the night for Bushi in the ring. So Wado was happy to fight alongside Ibushi and wants revenge against Bushi. Wato wants a title shot, he wants to cash in his victory over Desperado, he nominates Coach Taguchi as his partner. Tenzan's excited, he says the Tokyo Dome is the place for it. Ibushi doesn't think Naito is in shape, and if something doesn't change, he will be taking those titles easily. Alright, here we go. What you've all been waiting for since last week, or 4 weeks ago. The 2020 World Tag League Final between Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, the Gorillas of Destiny, versus Juice Robinson and David Finlay, Finjuice. Kelly explains that both finals have no time limit. Jado barely touches Juice's leg, but Marty Asami puts his foot down straight away and throws Jado out. And the Young Lions help him do so. They drag Jado out of the arena. So Asami grew a pair. Good on him. Great job. The Gorillas refocus quickly though. Finlay is isolated while the Tongans make quick changes. Loa starts trying to get in Finlay's head, allowing him to take free shots before blasting him back and just sending Finlay flying into the corner from like in the middle of the ring. He's a good seller, Finlay, but that's what he should be doing, not main eventing shows or co-main eventing. Eventually, he makes a tag. How unnecessary was that? Sorry, Finlay. Eventually, he makes a tag and Juice makes a comeback. He survives the double splash. When that ends, makes another comeback. There's a huge right hand that lands on Tama. But before he goes for the pulp friction, he sees Jado returning. A kendo stick somehow makes its way in and Juice is struck. Finlay tries to make the save, but as if fathered by Loa, just puts him in the crossface, no problems. Tama puts Juice in the Scorpion Deathlock. Juice makes it to the ropes eventually. Tama has had his lip busted open. They go for the Magic Killer and it lands, but Juice kicks out and then goes on to counter the Super Powerbomb and starts yet another Juice comeback. Finlay takes over, going back up top to hit the Superplex and then the Frog Splash from Juice. This is on Tama Tonga. They haven't won yet. They're on their way until Jado gets in the ring. Juice catches his kendo stick strike, but does not see Kenta coming, who donks him on the head with the US title briefcase. Kenta out of nowhere. Tama sees or sets up the Super Powerbomb for Loa, who finishes it, and the Gorillas of Destiny have finally won the World Tag League. 6-time World IWGP Tag Team Champions. They haven't won the Tag League yet. Now they have the Gorillas. Jado and Kenta celebrate in the ring. And kind of interestingly, this sets up a heel versus heel tag title match at Wrestle Kingdom. Although Dangerous Tekkers are far from heels for me. So Tama pinned Juice in the end on that one. And backstage, Finlay is mad. He says this is bullshit. He screams at the camera about being the best, which he always says after they lose, which really makes him sound like an idiot. And I think Juice should turn on him. Juice says that they don't want to be there. They want to be with their families. And in fairness, Juice is as hot as Finlay was, but he can't get much of a challenge out, but it's clear that he's kind of directed something of a challenge at Kenta. The Gorillas cut the same promo they've cut all tournament. Well, after the wins they've had anyway. So they've got one more Destiny left. Tama's promos are really close to unbearable. No one talks like this, and I think he's getting worse, and I'm pretty sure I've already said this. You know what, I'll continue to say it if he keeps getting worse. But anyway, they want to win at Wrestle Kingdom. That's the basis of it all. Hopefully they don't. Okay. Is that me getting worked? Maybe they're supposed to be heels. I guess I'm getting worked. What a big fat mark. Anyway, this is the main event now. Best of Super Juniors 27. The final. Hiromu Takahashi versus El Desperado. Under Despi's photo on Hiromu's scrapbook, he writes that he hates Desperado's guts. Desperado's inverted his costume to be predominantly white, which is pretty cool. They square off, exchanging words, as the first juniors to main event at Budokan, apparently. I guess, I don't know if that's for New Japan or in general, but they deserve it. I certainly like this match more than the tag final, Numero dos is attempted early, and Hiromu scrambles for the ropes. The turnbuckle is exposed, and Hiromu is the one feeling it. Despy drops his knees on Hiromu's left knee, the same knee that the chair was slammed down on during their round-robin match back on the 18th of November, Korakuen Hall, for those playing at home. The targeted damage continues to mount, and after all of it, Hiromu begins his comeback with multiple running attacks. So, terrific psychology. A leg scissor choke over the ropes, and then a facebuster on the floor sets up a shotgun drop kick from Hiromu off the apron, sending Despy into the barricade. The fight returns to the ring, and Hiromu fights his way out of some suplex attempts, and then another numero dos. A kick cracks the skull of Desperado as the 15-minute call is made, followed by the corner Death Valley driver and then one in the center. Hiromu goes for the time bomb, but Desperado counters into numero dos and won't let go despite the ropes being reached. Now the knee of Hiromu is failing to operate. Despy goes for a dive to the outside, but has to stop short when Hiromu moves back into the ring, going for the sunset flip powerbomb, only to fly out of the ring without Despy. He didn't get any kind of grip on him on the way through, and it kind of looked like a botch because Hiromu just springs back up and tries to pull Despy down, only to be kicked into the barricade after a short struggle. It does betray a sense of desperation, if nothing else, I suppose. Desperado grabs a title belt, and Red Shoes takes the bait, as always, as Despy flings it away, distracting the goofball referee while he slams a chair down on Hiromu's leg multiple times. Kelly at least tries to explain that the referee has discretion here and wouldn't want a big match to end this way, but then what are the rules for? Like, what does it mean to the championship if the cheater wins by cheating? I don't know. I mean, you've got to draw the line somewhere. He witnessed this happen. Guitarra de Angel lands his powerbomb variation that he does, and that's Despy. And when that pinfall doesn't come, it's straight back to numero dos. He traps one arm, he rolls over, he gains the other, so Hiromu's in big trouble, but evidently has incredible core strength because he sits up all the way over Despy's shoulder and then somehow turns it into some kind of modified Canadian destroyer. Hiromu needs some time to recover himself, so they're slow to their feet, but eventually he tries a time bomb again, only for Desperado to push him away, knocking the referee down and providing the perfect low blow opportunity that Despy does not miss. And he gets all of it with a big toothy smile to boot. Despy picks him up and gets cracked with a straight right-hand punch. The gloves are off, and so too the mask. Hiromu doesn't muck around. He tears at the mask. He throws away what he gets. He kind of got half of it off. The back of it and some of the front, just kind of across Despy's nose, still remains. But Desperado decides what's done is done. He gives Hiromu a look of, all right, is this what you want? And then takes off the rest of the mask to a gasp from the crowd before they start swinging back and forth with hard open hand strikes. Desperado looks like a pretty handsome fellow, by the way. So he cracks Hiromu back with a right hand, and Uno sees it plainly and just kind of sighs in the background. Pinche Loco is attempted and blocked. Then a headbutt from Hiromu drops them both. Victory Royale, the vertical suplex dropped into a DDT. Kind of looked more like a flapjack on this occasion, but it lands. And then Time Bomb 2 is what Hiromu goes for next, but El Escolero is the counter. Sulero? I don't know. Spanish, guys, come on. It's like a leg hook half Nelson rolled forward into that, like a crucifix cradle. So he goes really close to winning the match with that one. Despy does. And then there's a thrust kick to the chin to drop Despy again. He tries Pinche Loco. No. There's a Death Valley driver into the corner with no pad. Then he hits the time bomb. That's it. 1, 2, no. Desperado kicks out. So Hiromu hits Victory Royale again, and then at the 30-minute mark, he hits the Time Bomb 2, and that finally keeps Desperado down. Hiromu Takahashi is the best of the Super Juniors 27 champion. And I got to say, by this point, I kind of wanted it to be Despy, but I understand why it's Hiromu. It was a fantastic match either way. The referee covers up Desperado's face with a towel, but Kelly protests. He says, we need to recognize the man capable of this effort, and perhaps Desperado agrees because he throws the towel off his face before being helped up the ramp. Hiromu calls out to Desperado before he gets too far. He says, until one of them retires, we will keep battling, and he says, doesn't that excite you? He lost today, but let's do it again. Hiromu is handed the trophy, just the main one. There's no extra ones as there often is with New Japan. So he lies down holding that one-wing trophy above him. He takes the mic again and says there's someone else he wants to fight. Ishimori. Oh no, wait. There's someone else he needs to fight first. Whoever wins the Super J Cup. Hiromu says they can do as pro wrestlers at this... All they can do as pro wrestlers at this time is entertain the fans and keep spirits high, and that's what New Japan is here for. He loves what New Japan is doing, and what the juniors in particular are doing, and they will continue having more and more and more and more and more fun together. There's, no trophy ceremony or anything, but they go backstage. Desperado wipes at his bare face as he kneels on the floor of the press area. He says that other guy's pretty good. And then he says, only Hiromu Takahashi and El Desperado were in that ring tonight. So I'm not sure exactly what he means by that, but he doesn't stick around to elaborate. Hiromu wanders in, and he wonders where his teammates are. He's disappointed they didn't wait around to watch this, and he thinks they're probably... or to celebrate with him, and he thinks that they are watching and probably laughing at the fact that they're not there, which is pretty mean. But he doesn't appear to take it personally. He gives himself a kanpai and then has a delicious swig of Zima. No matter how painful it gets, he always has fun. He is reminded of how much power the fans give to the wrestlers. His emotions are torn on Desperado because he feels so close to him, liking him at this time. He says their bond is fragile, like a delicate piece of art. Or maybe an egg. Either way, he wants to fight him forever. He's very happy to have won Best of Super Juniors. He really wants to fight the Super J Cup winner. He opens the floor to questions, and the first John Morgan dork asks how he's feeling after winning the match. And Hiromu appropriately responds that he just fucking talked about that. And then the guy asks another generic question about the fans, and Hiromu is just hilariously indignant, saying he just talked about that as well. He admits that he gets a bit carried away when it comes to the fact that he ripped the mask off, but he saw who Desperado truly is, and he is El Desperado, and nothing else. Which I suppose speaks to what Despy said himself, that he is who he is. This didn't change him, mask or not, he's the same person. I guess they're both kind of saying the same thing like that. And then he says that his Super J call out was on a whim, and he felt like going straight for the title would be unsatisfying with this opportunity for a challenge from America. So he says he's not satisfied with just being the face of the division. He wants to reach new heights and won't give up. So that brings to an end both of those tournaments. We've got the Gorillas as the World Tag League winners and Hiromu as the Best of Super Junior winner. There you go. Best of Super Juniors was... Look, I mean, I didn't give these tournaments as much time as I would have liked, just because those couple of weeks where I didn't have the internet, it really meant that I had to kind of rush through everything to keep up, or catch up rather. But No, I thought the Best of Super Juniors was pretty good. The tag leagues, it's I don't know, a bit average actually, but that's nothing new. All right, what else have we got here? Let's you know what we haven't talked about in a little while? My favorite show, New Japan Strong. So on the 12th of December, I'll rush through this, and I'll tell you why. Because the Super J Cup's next. I'll get to it. Hold on. So on New Japan Strong on the 12th, which was the day after the finals there that we just went through, and the day before the Super J Cup. So it was Clark Connors and DKC versus Sterling and Logan Regal, and DKC steals a cradle on one of the twins, whoever it was, and apparently as a team they're now 2-1 up against the Regals. So the actual team of the Regal twins is losing to this thrown together team. And then we got Tangaloa, Chase Owens, and Hikuleo against Mysterioso, David Finlay, and Juice Robinson. So that's nearly a little teaser of the final there, the Gorillas versus Finjuice. Loa counters the moonsault. I mean, I say before, obviously I just said it came out afterwards, but I'm pretty sure this was recorded about 7 months ago at this point, just because of how, that's an exaggeration, but really it's like ridiculously behind. And yeah, look, just a perfect example of this, by the way. The next match is ACH versus Tamatonga, and Tangaloa... Sorry, I'm used to saying Tangaloa straight after Tamatonga. Just in a singles match with Tamatonga, and he's got his long hair. So, he debuted the short hair look before the tag league. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. It's here for me to complain about. In the match I just skipped over, Tangaloa beat Mysterioso with that sit-out pile driver he does. The ape shit is what he calls it. And Kelly apologizes for swearing by calling the move. I apologize also. So next was ACH and Tamatonga, who kind of looks weird with the long hair now. But actually, it could just be his clean-shaven face as well. It's sort of long hair, long beard, clean shave, fresh cut, either or combination makes sense. But Kelly tries to cover the fact that ACH jumped headfirst for no reason into a gun stun, and you know what? I credit him for that. He's trying to make this shitty looking wrestling make sense. Then the main event on this show was Carl Fredericks versus Jay White, and he had it go, but White barely breaks a sweat in reality. And a Blade Runner does it for him, and then White says he takes his time on purpose with guys like Carl and Rocky, and that Fredericks has a long way to go to reach the bar he set as a foreigner coming out of the dojo. Okay, so we just quickly touch on that. Let's move on to the Super J Cup, and oh my god, it's Kozlov. So I realized that this is the same setting as New Japan Strong, and I don't know why I should be surprised, but it's even got the Strong roster guys in a couple of tag matches, and I don't know, it was just really disappointing. I thought it was kind of almost going to be like a pay-per-view kind of a card. Not a pay-per-view really, but just kind of a special event type thing. I actually even thought it was live. That's how naive I am. So yeah, this was a bit of a kick in the guts. Kozlov on commentary, and it was clearly taped forever ago. But whatever, I guess this is kind of as close to a pay-per-view as Strong has come to so far, so I've suffered through it this far. Let's see what we got here. The first match was Clark Connors versus Chris Bay. Connors, of course, from the dojo. Chris Bay from Impact. Apparently there's no time limit for these matches. So I'm not sure why that would be, but big shoulder charge from Connors sends Bay flying. There's a nice German from Connors as a counter to a springboard. An impressive looking sit out powerbomb from Bay. And then Bay appears to have worked on countering the double leg crab. He gets out of that a couple times. There's a hip check wherein Bay barely gets his knee up. It's called a spinning heel kick by Kozlov, but no, it was a hip check at best. There was maybe some knee. Spinning heel kick it was not. But Bay's springboard cutter wins the match in any case. Following that, the ultimate finesser. Chris Bay goes up. Next up, ACH versus TJP. So these are both kind of strong guys, or like free agent guys. ACH adds to a bridging German suplex by changing his grip on the pin to hold down the legs more, which is pretty cool. And then there's a nice suplex reversal from TJP that looked like a deadlift. There's a botch in the corner that required ACH to hold TJP up. Then after a gutbuster from there, a 450 ends a very predictably athletic match. And the fellow veterans shake hands and embrace afterwards. But that was ACH's victory there. Blake Christian and Ray Horace is next. Blake, another strong guy. Although it's said that he represented Game Changer Wrestling. And he's also brought with him an elbow injury. Horace is over from Ring of Honor, but has apparently not had a proper match in a long while. And I guess if he's full-time with Ring of Honor, that'd explain why. Horace pushed Blake into the corner and threatens a punch, and Blake's reaction was like a kid that has been bullied by the same bully for 3 grades straight. It's just like a defeated acceptance of whatever the next move will be. Like, okay, are you going to hit me, or are you like just bored with it? But I thought it was really funny. Then Horace calls out Brainbuster, and then that move gets reversed, which serves him right. There's a cool rolling DVD from Blake, but only a 2 count. And this is when I noticed Blake's nose is busted and bleeding. So that's a good time to start trading forearms, as they do. And then there's some cool kicks from Blake, who backs Horace up, and then he stiffly plants himself in the corner, showing off all that heart he has. Young Christian Blake. Blake Christian, should say, sorry. That's his Japanese name, Christian Blake. And Horace takes his time locking in a inverted figure 4 hold. Probably, more time than he actually managed to apply the hold 4. And then the flips come out, both of them from the top rope, until a frog splash from Blake lands, and surprisingly, he gets the win. So he came in with an elbow injury. He leaves with an additional nose injury, but also a win. All heart, Blake Christian. Next match, Leo Rush versus the defending champion El Phantasmo. So Phantasmo's entrance theme is muted due to licensing issues, which is a gimmick of his, because he keeps pointing to his ear. And speaking of gimmicks, he's got lined up for himself. He does his backflip that he, before the match, he often would go up the turnbuckle, do a backflip, and he stumbles, but it looks pretty clear to me that he's doing it on purpose. And then we got, and then Kelly, the sound comes back, and Kelly's like, I couldn't hear anything either. What's going on? Phantasmo overhears Kelly's complaints and explains that he needs money to allow anyone to use his theme song. So I guess he's made it himself. And he's got a fellow musician in the ring, does he not? Leo Rush, I believe, is into his music. So they talk some trash to each other before they get started. Phantasmo falls again. And this is all to play into the fact that he hasn't wrestled since February. I'm assuming he's... at this point, I kind of assumed that he was not going over, and that It was almost like a HBK versus Hogan situation where he wants to sell the rust as much as possible. He misses a top rope, or misses the top rope on a springboard move. He hits the Styles Clash on the outside. He's seems ELP's on top of the match despite the hokey ring rust. But Leo comes back with a tope suicida. He tries a frog splash, but ELP knows how to get the job done, pushing Leo into the referee before poking him in the eyes, punching him in the groin, and then rolling him up with a handful of tights to win the match. El Phantasmo through to the next round. So that's the end of the first round matches. We had a bumper match here, a tag match between Team Filthy members, Danny Limelight and JR Kratos, versus Rocky Romero and Fred Rosser of the Strong Main Unit. So, yeah, like I said, it's kind of like a special event for the Strong show, but I'm not sure if that means the result of this tag match does or still doesn't matter. I suppose time will tell. I'm leaning toward the latter. The latter that it doesn't matter. Rocky eats a power slam and a wheelbarrow German suplex from Kratos, and Limelight salsas in to casually make the pin, and that's what ends the match. You can tell I was betting on it not meaning anything because I barely wrote anything about it. Super J Cup semi-final, Chris Bay versus ACH. I watched this match twice to come up with something notable about it, other than the finish. The finish is a 450 splash. I mean, I'm not saying the match was bad. It was very athletic. They just, I don't know, didn't appear to be any story to it. They did some cool moves, and then one of the guys did his coolest move at the end. And I guess that's just modern pro wrestling, isn't it? So ACH wins. I don't know. Was that harsh? This felt like nothing. And then Blake Christian versus El Phantasmo is the other semi-final. Christian has a broken nose apparently, but was cleared to compete after some debate with the medical team. Having a name like All Heart kind of means you need to be prepared to live up to that, I suppose. Not one to waste time, Blake goes flying in with shotgun drop kicks, beating ELP down. And I mean, straight off the bat, there's more psychology in this match than the last one, because of course, if he's got a busted up nose, first of all, he probably can't breathe very well, so he's not going to last long. And second, it's just, the longer the match goes on, the easier it's going to be to take advantage of his injuries. So it makes sense that he wants to rush straight in, get a quick victory. But ELP does find a pretty easy counter to all of this once he gets the chance. He just grabs Blake's nose, and the referee stops him, but he just keeps doing it anyway. He does it to escape a sharpshooter a bit later. There's a nasty back rake from ELP, and then he tries the CR2, only to see it counted, and then followed by a vicious driver. That earns a 2 count only, but the hits keep coming. There's a rolling DVD, there's a running shooting star press. This is all from Blake Christian, by the way. But on that star press, he landed on his face, on his broken nose. So he struggles to regain his composure, but he goes high to try. By finding his composure, he thinks, well, I should go to the top rope. So he misses that kind of turning splash he does, and then he eats a kick to the face, and that keeps him down. Phantasmo gets the win, goes to the final, but what an effort from All Heart, Blake Christian. There's another tag match before the final. It's Hikuleo and Kenta versus Kevin Knight and Ren Narita. So a brand new young lion in Kevin Knight, and another on the way out, making his reappearance. Ren Narita's, he's still in his black trunks and whatnot, so it's interesting to see what exactly is going to be going on with him. But yeah, kind of cool to see him, and cool to see a new young lion as well in Kevin Knight. So Narita is trying to push forward while excuse me, Kenta tries to bully him, but they're a similar size. Kenta, of course, so much more experience. He knocks Narita down with a hard slap. Hikuleo performs surgery with a chop. It was so loud it sounded like it cracked Narita's sternum. Knight tags in, but is soon overwhelmed by Hikuleo, and then Kenta as well. They both seem keen to impress, though, both Knight and Narita. It'd be interesting to see Narita up against the current youngsters in Japan. I was looking for some history on Knight as well, because he looks more solid in the ring than Hikuleo. Not that that's that surprising, but anyway. Narita gets chokeslammed in the end by Hikuleo, and then Kenta submits Knight with a double leg crab. Kenta's briefcase is still in perfect condition. And then the final. ACH versus El Phantasmo. There's a neat little package before the entrances showing the history of the tournament. ELP attacks ACH as soon as he appears beyond the curtain. He clears the ringside table, hits him 3 times with the big winner's trophy that they get, but Hiromu doesn't get a big winner's trophy. But he breaks that over ACH's back and then enters the ring. ACH's back was already taped up as well, so anyway, eventually the match starts. And it was, I think it was ACH tries an early roll up and then a backslide, but there's kickouts both times. ELP, I guess, needs more help to win, using the sports tape from ACH's own back to choke him. And he continues to target the back. There's a low blow in front of the referee on top of everything else. There's a suplex from ELP that slams ACH's back down on the stage ramp. And the referee has no patience for ACH. Despite all of this, he counts ACH out like he's got somewhere better to be. But he makes it back. Phantasmo's balance has improved. He goes dancing from one turnbuckle to the next on the top rope. Then ELP kicks out of the German with kind of the little extra pin on it that ACH does. I talked about it earlier. ACH kicks out of a top rope splash. There's a Styles Clash in the center. ACH kicks out of that. There's a V trigger, and then ELP tries the One Wing Angel, but ACH stops that one, hits a Brainbuster. ELP kicks out of that. There was a contrived Gutbuster setup and delivery from the top rope turnbuckle, before ACH tries to finish him with the 450, only to hit the knees. ELP pushes ACH into the referee and hits a punch to the groin, but ACH kicks out of that as well. And then a super kick lands for ELP, but then he puts doubts aside with the CR2 to become back-to-back Super J Cup winner, El Phantasmo. And they award him the broken trophy, which then he goes and breaks completely. And then he's awarded the golden jacket. They were talking about the golden jacket that the Super J Cup winner gets. And it's got some paper in it, I guess, because it's like a brand new jacket. I haven't seen that in jackets so much as shoes, but he kind of disapproves the fact that there's paper in there, so he chucks that out. He chases the presenter out. He decides he hates the jacket now, and he throws that down and spits on it. And then he takes the microphone and calls out the Best of Super Junior winner for a match at Wrestle Kingdom. Of course, he doesn't know who that's going to be yet, so he doesn't name names. Despite our time, we know who the winner is. It's Hiromu. It already happened. But there you go. Another match set for Wrestle Kingdom. And then, speaking of which, we got time. I'll run through this other strong show, and then we'll get to these cards that finalize the Wrestle Kingdom shows. All right, New Japan Strong from the 19th, out of the LA dojo. They're adding these unnecessary detonation signatures to the show. I mean, I don't know. I guess I've just seen them do stuff like this so many times now, and it's never made a difference. It's never meant anything. There was one of these that they just... Which one was it? They started a new tour, and then they just gave up on it like 2-3 weeks later. I think it was only 2. Yeah, anyway. Danny Limelight versus Rocky Romero. WWE would make these guys cousins, I reckon. They'd be like the Sanchez team, or the Hernandez Familia. Anyway, I mean, these guys have a good match, but I've said it before. Rocky's presence is unfortunately a Mark River match that does not matter. Limelight puts a Kimura on Romero. He holds it beyond the ropes. And even before that, he had enough time to tear every fiber in that shoulder. But I think it's more frustrating to see stuff like that when it's between wrestlers that actually know how to fight. Anyway. Okay, I'm super negative on this already. Let me just get through this. So Limelight nearly wins utilizing a roll-up with a fistful of tights, but Rocky soon thereafter counters with an armbar and wins. Rocky wins. Why? Fucking hell. Next up, Russ Taylor versus Jeff Cobb. Rust calls himself the Shaman of Submission. You know what? He must be one of those guys that went to Nepal and he gets, you know, those baggy pattern tourist pants so he can come home and claim enlightenment. And then he tries to do his stupid balance pose and lasts literally less than 2 seconds. Do it at home, dude. Like, just practice it. Stand. This is the thing. You at home, anyone listening to this, you do it. Stand on one foot for 2 seconds. I bet you can do it. I'll time you. Are you ready? Get up. Get up and do it. You ready? You ready? You can stand on one foot. Put your arms out if you need to. Ready, go. 1, 2. You just lasted longer than Russ Taylor. You're an athlete. Congratulations. Even Kozlev commented on this, actually. That he sucks at at doing the thing, and then Kelly tries to defend him. So the face-heel dynamic is reversed there because Rust is part of Team Filthy. Then they're definitely heel. But having said all this, I like the idea of this match because these guys might not necessarily exude charisma, but they are good wrestlers. Rust has some cool offense, but unfortunately Cobb sucks at selling, so that kind of ruins it. Kozlov ventures to say that Rust might just be a better submission wrestler than Cobb. Wow, what a statement that is. Spin cycle lands for 2. There's a standing moonsault. That goes 2. And then I just noticed Taylor doesn't wear knee pads, by the way, as well. What a badass. But anyway, he dies. To the Tour of the Islands. You're dead. Not really. Not really dead. Not literally dead. Literally 2 seconds he can't last on one foot, but not literally dead. Then we had... This was actually a pretty big card as far as New Japan Strong goes. And I'm just tearing it apart left and right. JR Kratos and Tom Lawler versus PJ Black and Fred Rosser. Lawler comes out on Kratos' back. Kratos overpowers everyone, including Rosser, who used to be the big power guy before they actually got some big guys in. And he bumps for Kratos real quick. So he quickly transitions into a high flyer. He tries to land a leg drop off the apron to the outside. I think he misses it. And then Kratos finally goes down when the babyfaces team up. Lawler accidentally kicks his partner in the head. Rosser goes for his big finish, gets Kratos up on his shoulders but can't control him, and he just kind of rolls off onto his knees. You know, Rosser does like this gutbuster thing. Didn't get all of it, as some may say. And then, I'm glad that wasn't the finish. But the finish comes next, off of the back of that. And I do like one thing about it, because instead of Kratos shifting his body to position himself for PJ Black's attack, Black's the one that shifts to suit how Kratos is positioned. So he's going for his 450 springboard splash, and he realizes when he's on kind of at the top apron that that's not going to work best for him. So he quickly swings around the post, goes to the other side, and then hits the springboard 450 and wins via pinfall that way. I just liked that the attacker was the one that was like, oh, this isn't set up for me properly, so I'll get in a different position, rather than the person that's supposed to be knocked out on the ground, like dragging themselves to be side on so that they can get finished properly. Makes no sense. And then the main event here, the IWGP US title right to challenge contract. Kenta defending for the 4th time, I think, against Brody King. Defending the briefcase, still not the champion. So Kenta drags out the start by walking around the ring, and then he starts circling Brody, trying to pick him apart from the outside with kicks, which is a sound strategy. Brody eventually catches one though, and closes the distance, slams Kenta down, crushes him with the senton. Kenta can't let that happen again, so he continues making King chase him before a veteran trick gains him back the advantage, and then he picks on the left leg, starts kicking at that. There's a figure 4 that's locked on by Kenta, but King's kind of big enough to reach the ropes and strong enough to fight out of it anyway. He goes on to hit a black hole slam, and a pile driver from King somehow does not end Kenta's night. So he goes for the Ganzo bomb, but Kenta once again has a sneaky answer to the dangerous questions posed by Brody King. This time it's an eye rake and a fall behind before a shove in King's back launches him into the referee. Kenta grabs the briefcase and tries to swing it at Brody, only for him to catch it. Kenta kicks him low instead, right between the pins, and then hits him in the head with the steel box twice. Then Kenta wakes up the referee, hits a PK while Kozlov tried to narc on him to the referee. He's like, hey, did you see what Kenta did? So, again, I think that's funny, and that's kind of a heelish thing to do, but he's not sticking to his Bullet Club affiliation, is he? Anyway, Kenta goes on to really impressively hit the go to sleep on Brody, because Brody's huge. And he hits the go to sleep perfectly, by the way. Like, no worries. Would hit it the exact same way on freaking Dolph Ziggler. Except Dolph Ziggler would have flown out of the ring. But that's it. He wins. He defends the briefcase. Then he takes the mic. He tells Moxley to stop wasting his time. He's willing to fight anytime, anywhere. And he's coming for him. And, straight to the point. Good promo. In English, of course. And then there was another New Japan Strong show before the end of the year, but they just did the best of the year show, so I didn't bother with it. And that is that. Do we have... I think we've got enough time to go through these shows, don't we? Oofed. Maybe. Alright, let's give it a go. So, on the 21st, we had the first of 3 Korakuen Hall shows, Road to the Tokyo Dome, and there's a nice little year-end review package to start each of these shows. And these shows were free, by the way, if that makes a difference to anyone. You'd have to watch them quick, the events tomorrow. But first up, on the 21st, Gabriel Kidd, Yu Uemura, Yota Tsuji versus Tiger Mask, Togi Makabe, and Satoshi Kojima. Can't say it too quickly. Uemura starts the match and shoots in with a very effective double leg takedown on Makabe, though the former heavyweight champion soon regains control. Gabe gets in with Tiger, and he's got a bit of better luck in that exchange until Uncle Koji enters Kid's nightmares once again. Uemura saves Tsuji from an elbow drop before being called a Bakayaro by interrupting the fan favourite signature before teaming up with his dojo rival and inviting Kid in too. They all get their shots in on Koji before the vets re-enter Kojima goes for the lariat on Tsuji, but Tsuji hits him with a spear and then a suplex, but then the lariat comes soon after anyway. Tsuji, the victim of which. So after that match, Kid calls out Makabe. Kid's always got someone to call out. Tsuji wants to wrestle at the Tokyo Dome. Uemura says that as long as he's a junior, he'd like to tag with Tiger Mask. And he would specifically like to do so in the junior tag tournament, whenever that might be. He also wants to fight Suzuki. Oh my goodness. It's a very respectful call out, like that would make a difference. Makabe's impressed with the young lions. Kojima looks forward to whatever's coming for him, and Tiger talks about being old. And gets a lot older talking, by the way. He's there forever. Sorry, I know he's a legend, but I guess his first night back in a while, so I think actually coming back from diverticulitis, by the way. Something my granny, he, and Brock Lesnar share in common, so all legends. Hanare and Juice Robinson versus Yujiro Takahashi and Kenta was next. And there's a fan with a replica busted briefcase. And I mean, if there's anything New Japan can take from WWE, it's how to make a buck off the markiest of marks. I mean, what are you going to do with that? But whatever, make your money. They want to give it to you, let them give it to you. So in this one, Yujiro uses the pimp cane on Hanare while Kenta distracts the referee. They both isolate Hanare for a good portion of the match. Kenta taunts Juice as he tries to fire up Hanare. It works eventually, Hanare absorbing some of the blows and reversing a suplex to create the distance he needs. Hot tag is made to Juice, who steamrolls through both opponents until a reverse DDT from Kenta halts the action. Yujiro picks up where Kenta left off, and they both begin to attack together, combining well, keeping Hanare out of the ring. Juice kicks out of an Olympic slam, soon comes back with a pulp friction, and then points at Kenta before making the winning cover. Power move. Kenta comes at him with the briefcase, but Juice catches it, then chases him off, then says into the camera that he is going to take the briefcase from Kenta and then see John down the road. So, backstage, Kenta comes back asking where his briefcase is. He says he's defended the contract 4 times. I was right. And Moxley has only defended the title twice. He calls him John Mock. Juice asks for a shot at Kenta very passionately, as we've come to know. It's been a weird year, but I do feel like I've been a bit of a mark when it comes to Juice. He's a good promo. He's a pretty big guy, decent look. He's over. I mean, he needs some tweaking, but I think he's got everything you need there for a push. Old Juice, all the best to him. I guess maybe I just can't get that NXT hippie out of my mind. And then Hanare is there as well. I mean, he's behind Juice in terms of that line, but he's not that far off himself. And he says, Hanare this is, that he's the most determined foreigner in New Japan's main unit. Which is a lot of qualifiers, but I mean, he sounded good saying it, I suppose. Master Wato, Hiroshi Tenzan, and Ryusuke Taguchi versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. He's back. El Desperado and Minoru Suzuki. The Mask is back for Desperado as well, along with his partner and his faction leader. We haven't seen Suzuki in a while. Wato runs in to attack Desperado early like he belongs in Suzuki-gun. Wato has challenged the junior tag champs, of course, and nominated Taguchi as his partner. So this is a peek at what that match might look like, I suppose. Wato gets a good look at Taguchi's rear end after being sent into it by Despi, without Taguchi realizing. Kanemaru hurts his elbow by elbowing Tenzan in his big jug head. Tenzan hobbles around for a while before Wato gets back in. Maybe they did that on purpose so that Wato looks just phenomenal in comparison. But speaking of moving well, Suzuki moves well enough. He directs his 3-man assault on young blue grandpa. There's a deep impact from Kanemaru, which might have put Wato away, but Tenzan saves his awkward adopted child, who goes on to pin Kanemaru with an excessively athletic pin setup. I mean, if they hadn't already secured that title shot, they have to have now. So, backstage, Kanemaru calls the loss a fluke. Despy says that they will make up for it in the next match tomorrow. Wato says he is always coming up with counterattacks. He tries to look tough, I think. I hope he doesn't do that again. Tenzan blames himself for the loss and asks, for the loss? They didn't lose. And then, maybe that's a typo, I don't know. He asked Taguchi to guide Wato. Or maybe I did get it wrong. Maybe... No, who knows. Anyway, let me tell you, it doesn't matter too much. Taguchi tells the champions to accept the challenge in a really unconvincing way. Tenzan was critical of his performance after talking about the others, which is his role now. So, next up we had Chase Owens, Tangaloa and Tamatonga versus Jado. Oh, sorry, with Jado, of course, versus Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. So we got the World Tag League champions against the IWGP champions, with Owens and Doki included. Doesn't get any better than that. The Tongans attack first. Doki was part of a decent looking comeback, but he ends up leaping into a gun stun, as so many tend to. His compatriots save him from further harm. Tama looked to provide, but the message was sent that this is probably a Night 1 Wrestle Kingdom match. Champions on champions. And they all talk a lot of trash on the way out. And at the back, oh no, it's a Tamatonga promo. We'll skip that. Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi crash the party as if I didn't like them enough already. He stops them talking. Taichi calls out the Yakuza. He's badass. And he... okay, Jado has a Christmas present for Doki. And it's to show him how weak his pipe is, whatever that means. Actually kind of sounds a bit like an innuendo. Okay, so Great-O-Khan, Jeff Cobb and Will Ospreay, again with B. Priestley versus Tomoaki Honma, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Kazuchika Okada. So, yeah, Khan back with the full gear, back with the drunken walk. Not sure why he stopped for Tag League. Hey, I wonder if maybe I got that wrong, because I didn't mention the drunken walk before. I think maybe he only started doing it again on this show. I mentioned him doing it on the finals card. But maybe he was just back in full gear, but he didn't do the drunken walk, and now he's doing it again now. Or maybe I just didn't pay attention. Maybe no one else is paying attention to how he walks. Maybe it doesn't matter. Anyway. Okay, so this is... I don't love this match. I'm really... I don't know if I'm getting worked by these guys, but I've no real... I hate them on promos. They're all terrible promos. That's a real good way to work me, I think, is to put a bunch of terrible promos together in a faction and then tell them all to talk a lot, which seems to be what they're doing. So, anyway, so let's kind of skip to the end of this one. There's a super crowd surf, Kokeshi. It's kind of like Okada and Tanahashi throw him, Honma, of course, into someone. And then the whole other team just smash him with moves. He fought back a little bit, but the final blow is the Tour of the Islands. And then the heels throw Tanahashi back in, and Khan drops his knee on a chair, which seemed kind of mild, but then they stretch him out like a medieval torture rack, and Okan starts slamming Tanahashi's left knee over and over with the chair. Okada eventually chases him out, but then Ospreay runs back in later to elbow Okada in the back of the head, and then they all return to stand over both of them. The Empire looking strong. Backstage, Tanahashi's helped through the press area, says in passing that they won't get away with this. Cobb calls out Shingo with a crap promo. Ospreay cuts a crap promo. I mean, he speaks well and with conviction. He has got nothing to say until the end. He mentions something that might be a little interesting. He says he's looking to change his name. And then Okan calls Tana stuck in the past, a shadow of the man he once was, and he goes on to talk for a while too. And then the main event here was Togo Evil and Jay White with Gato versus Bushi, Sanada, and Naito. And White's got his own briefcase. And what a waste of time and effort that is, because there's just these few little shows and then the event where he cashes it in. But Sanada fights out of the Magic Killer and then hits Evil with one, using the ropes as the second person. Evil's... You know my feelings on Evil if you've been listening to this. He bores me. And Naito knows it too, because as soon as he gets in, it seems like he's trying to make up for the crappy match that Evil was having right before him. But then Sanada stops a Blade Runner on Bushi with a skull end. Togo's intervention earns him a TKO. Evil reverses a skull end with an STO. Nitro runs in and, being distracted by Evil, allows a Blade Runner on him. Bushi rejoins to make sure it is he that loses the match, so he gets hit with a Darkness Falls from Evil and then a Blade Runner from White to secure the victory. Gato pushes White the titles, and I really want him to pick them up and see how he looks. Instead, he offers the two sweet to Togo and Evil, and there was a bit of an awkward moment at the exit between White and Evil, like they did it, but then kind of there was I mean, it wasn't super subtle, but it was, in pro wrestling terms, it was subtle. They just kind of had an awkward moment. And then White does pick up the belts, and I like what I see. And the promo here was Evil telling Sanada he will crush him. White stands with the titles over his shoulders before taking the mic. He calls the fans dirty little caged animals, which is pretty harsh sounding. It kind of actually made me think what they should be allowed to get away with. I mean, I know it's not swearing or anything, but dirty little caged animals, like that's kind of offensive. But hey, I'm not complaining. White likes holding the titles. He thinks that they look good on him. He says it doesn't matter if it's Ibushi or Naito. All that matters is who will be left standing, and that will be him. So that's night one. This is going to be a long podcast. Night two. Let's run through it. Chase Owens and Fale versus Yano and Honma. Yano does a comically poor job of working toward the slam. They double team and beat up Honma. Yano comes back in and still can't slam Fale. There's a Kokeshi on Owens. He tries to pull a fast one on him, but Owens kicks out. Honma hits another Kokeshi, but he misses the middle rope version and then eats a knee and then a pile driver. So Fale picks up the trophy and is about to stomp on it when Yano dives on it to save it, and they kick him instead. Backstage, Yano says Fale doesn't understand fatherhood, and he will do what he has to do to protect his baby, aka trophy. Owens says Yano's time is up. He wants a shot at the title once Fale wins it, but Fale doesn't seem to acknowledge his partner's challenge. We got Wato, Tenzan, and Taguchi versus Kanemaru, Desperado, and Suzuki. Suzuki Gun pick Tenzan to beat up, and but they don't really want to beat him up because they know how beat up he already is. So they kind of just take quick turns at being as careful as they can at beating him up. And then Wato helps his uncle with some high flying, which he's very good at. Taguchi has Kanemaru's ankle, switches to Dodon. Kanemaru pulls away the referee to try and donkey kick low blow Taguchi, but he misses. Taguchi goes for Dodon again, but it misfires, and Kanemaru is low blowed himself. Kanemaru kind of falls back and kicks him in the nads on accident. And then Taguchi rolls him up for the win. So Taguchi and Wato make their challenge for the junior titles as bloody clear as it possibly can be. And Despy in the promo backstage, he's like, we already accepted this challenge. Why are you resorting to this dirty play? And like, why is this still happening? He tells Wato that it's cringy that he keeps trying to be cool. He's like, stop trying to be cool. And he literally said cringy too, by the way. I mean, no, sorry. I've said literally incorrectly there. He said a Japanese word, and it was translated into cringy. Taguchi says that he did not low blow Kanemaru, and he was only pretending. That Kanemaru was pretending, that it was a shot to the stomach. It very clearly was not. Then Wato says that their team name is 1 or 8, in reference to the difference in their ages, which is 18 years. And Taguchi doesn't appear to love that name, and he is right not to. That name sucks. Tenzan embraces being a diva. He kind of laughs about it. I forget who called him a diva. Was it Kenta, or maybe it was Taichi? But anyway, Taguchi calls him a hot diva. Next we had Yujiro, Tangaloa, Tamatonga with Jado against Doki, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. Jado goes to work on Doki with the kendo stick. Loa beats him up for fun too. Taichi tries to fire Loa up. Everyone gets involved. Jado comes in. Doki counters with his pipe. So I guess it's not too weak, is it? Suzuki-gun have all three opponents tied up in submission holds, but they all eventually escape. Off come Taichi's pants, and he nearly hits Zack Mephisto, but there's a magic killer attempt. No, that misses. Gun stun. No, that misses. Doki takes out Yujiro with a suicide dive and nearly pins Loa with the cradle, but runs straight into apeshit and is pinned in the middle by Loa. Jado takes a few extra shots on Doki after the bell, while his teammates are tied up in submission holds. The Young Lions eventually do enough to free them, but the World Tag League winners make their point, posing over the limp bodies of the champions with their title belts. And Taichi is so pissed off after this backstage. He says it's been a while since he's been this mad. He wants the match tomorrow. He wants them dead. He calls for their murder several times, in fact. And the Tongans still have those title belts. Loa says they have fulfilled half their mission, and they will look like this after Wrestle Kingdom with all this gold, because they've got their trophies as well with them. Next match, Togo, Evil, Ishimori versus Sanada, Hiromu, and Naito. Evil runs a 3-person abdominal stretch on Naito. Hiromu runs a lot. Sanada hits Everything is Evil on Evil, and then locks in the skull end. And then meanwhile, Naito hits the Destino on Togo for the pinfall victory, but Sanada just keeps the skull end in, and Naito just is happy for it to happen. He just lets it happen. Long after Evil appears to be out, Sanada eventually releases it. Backstage, Ishimori predicts ELP, his partner, will beat Hiromu. Hiromu says it is fun to fight the Chihuahua, but looks forward to facing ELP first and is confident of victory. He's hungry for the title. Naito reflects on yesterday's match rather than this one, saying he was impressed with Jay's confidence. He likes fighting Ibushi, but he was reminded of how much he likes fighting White as well. So he will see him on night 2. Then we have Great Khan, Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay with B. Priestley versus Bushi and Shingo Takagi. It's just Khan and Cobb with Ospreay and Priestley, who came down in like suits. Cobb uses Bushi as bait for Shingo, and then it's kind of, no one cares about it until Shingo gets in with Cobb and they have their clashes prior to the Never title match. and then Okan is there for some reason. And Ospreay and B watch on. Cobb beats Bushi in the end with the tour, and Khan yells about it. That's his thing. Shingo was embarrassed to lose matches to Cobb, he says backstage. He says he can't compete with him purely on power alone, but he won't let him take the title. Cobb looks forward to becoming a two-time champion. Khan says they faced the least popular members of LIJ, and he calls them chickens. Now the main event. Juice, Sho, Ibushi versus Kenta, Gato, and Jay White. A match that feels of consequence at last. So Kenta's actually got a brand new briefcase to destroy. Somehow New Japan Strong has gone 360 or 180, maybe 180. Now it's actually up to date. Juice actually took that briefcase last night, the show before this one. But Kelly explains that he gave it back to New Japan officials. They brought out Juice and then Kenta first, so I was like, oh wow, is this a match for the briefcase? Is that what the main event is? I was excited for a moment, and then Ibushi's music hits, and out comes Sho, and then, oh well. Ibushi's in fantastic shape, of course. And, well, as is Jay White, who's on the other side. Gato gets beat up for a while. Kenta comes to the rescue. White and Ibushi have a run. Kenta and Juice have a run. Gato starts doing pretty well against Sho, but then he goes too far. He grabs those brass knucks. And then with the referee distracted, White tries to smack Ibushi with his briefcase, but misses. Sho tries an armbar on Gato, but Kenta interjects, only to be taken out by Juice. And then White saves Gato for a shot, or from a shock arrow. Blade Runner on Sho ends the match. Kenta hits Juice with his new briefcase as before they leave, and then he takes the mic, and in English he tells Juice that he accepts his challenge for the briefcase. White takes the mic and tells them to get rid of Juice, and then calls out after Ibushi, who gets in the ring. So White, he didn't expect that, and he runs off. Ibushi takes the mic and tells Jay that he hasn't forgotten what happened, and he will see him in 15 days. And then he says, I won't run away, I won't back down, I won't stab you in the back, and I will become God. Notice that he changed that one, because he used to say, I won't lose. That's what he used to say. But then he lost, so he can't say that anymore. And then he repeats backstage that he hasn't forgotten what White did to him, and he will win on both nights of the Tokyo Dome. White says that Gato wiped the floor with Sho, and he was in his Lucky King Switch shirt. Kenta says, Gato that was, Gato was in his Lucky King Switch shirt. Kenta says he got the new briefcase at a 100 yen store, and then it falls when he leans on it, and he's like, that's what you get for 100 yen, which is basically $1, if you don't know. And then he had previously said that he only wants John Mock, as he calls him, but he would actually like to face Juice, as he thinks Juice represents the fans that booed him last year. By last year, I think he really means at the start of the year. But he wanted to trash Wato and Tenzan some more, but he's like, it's not the time. Okay, so there's the second last one, and then the final night, the 23rd. Oh, actually, sorry, I've got a little extra here. There was a press conference in between, so Hiromu's happy to be in the opening match. He's worried Phantasmo will show up at the press conference there, but he doesn't, so Hiromu leaves, and then returns in a Phantasmo mask with ELP kind of written in marker on his chest. The Tongans and Dangerous Tekkers go nose to nose, and the Tongans won't let Dangerous Tekkers up on the stage. So they have a pretty intense showdown there. Tama calls them dickheads. Kenta, I just watched the highlights of this, by the way. Kenta wonders why he comes here as he does not have an opponent. But it turns out Kojima is replacing Juice. I'll come back to that. Okan wants Tanahashi to join the Empire if he loses and lick his boots. Tanahashi recognizes he isn't in the same shape as he was when he first called himself Ace after defeating Keiji Muto. Ospreay looks ridiculous and does a lot of yelling about how great he is. Okada no-sells the whole spiel and kind of just says, you know, good on Ospreay for giving this all a go. And then he adds his own arrogance in asking people to feel free to compare their match, the Okada-Ospreay match, to the main event. And then the people in the main event, Ibushi calls Naito a special opponent. Naito repeats how much fun he was having, or that he has facing Ibushi. And then White crashes the conference to ask his own questions, which is just, he just asks both of them if they think they can beat him. And they're both like, yeah. And that was it. And then, that's the first half of the press conference, and then the matches for the second night. I'll get to these in more detail at the end here. But starting with Wato and Taguchi against the Junior Tag Champions. Despy isn't wearing his face paint, but he is wearing his mask. Yoshinobu says he thinks he lost a nut to Taguchi's low blow last night, and Taguchi very seriously pleads to anyone that finds it to take it to the nearest police station. Cobb has his usual amount of nothing to say in too many words. Shingo asks why they talk so much, which is a very good question. He gives Jeff the advice of keeping his comments shorter, which is spot on. And then Evil calls Sonata an irritating bug that he will crush. Sonata points out he got a win over Evil in the G1, and he thinks that seeing as Evil is a former double champion, he thinks that maybe that should put him in contention to a title shot himself once he beats Evil in the Tokyo Dome. And then Togo runs in with his chokey cord and ruins the press conference. It's broken up pretty quickly from what I saw. Although, you know, if Togo didn't ruin the press conference, Ishimori was bound to anyway. He looks forward to an all Bullet Club match for his title. And then Jay White at the end, of course, because he's not got a confirmed opponent, so no one else speaks on that match. The same is the case with the Jay White match. But he says he's got a lot of confidence in defeating either opponent. So that brings us to the final card of 2020 on the 23rd at Korakuen Hall. And it's announced before the match that Juice Robinson is not only injured and won't be competing tonight, but he's also out of the match at Wrestle Kingdom against Kenta. And they don't at this stage report what the injury is, but I went back and watched that match again, and I didn't see anything. I heard broken nose, broken orbital, and I don't know, everyone seems to be taking it seriously. I guess it's a real injury, but I mean, at the end of that match, after Kenta hit him with the briefcase, he was laid out. Like, he didn't grab at his eye and roll out of the ring like, oh my god, I think I have a broken face, which I think would be a reasonable reaction. He just laid there, face up, and then, I don't know, he completely no-sold it, if that's what happened. Completely no-sold it. No-sold the broken orbital, that is. Didn't no-sell the briefcase shot. But I was really trying to get a look at his face, and I couldn't, you know, a broken orbital, that's going to swell up pretty quick. And I didn't see anything. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could just be like a fracture, like it's not really bad, but it's not okay to wrestle in, or he could do the Undertaker thing and wear that phantom mask. Could be a cool new gimmick for him. Anyway, at this stage, we're told he's out. So, anyway, the first match on this card. Kid, Uemura, Tsuji versus Wato, Tiger Mask, and Taguchi. Kid has a problem with Wato, and he calls him out to begin with, because Kid's got a problem with everyone. He's such an angry dude. Tsuji sells a Wato kick to the back like Heihachi dying in Tekken. I'm not going to try and do that. But if you play Tekken and you've beaten Heihachi, that wah, I said I wasn't going to do it, but that sound that he makes, that's what Suji sounded like. So yeah, kid's fired up, and if that's not enough, Yuya is just as fired up. Plenty of energy. Goes close with the double leg crab on Wato, but their time together includes some very physical striking as well, until coming to an end with the RPP. Uemura going down to Wato. So there's a bit of reflection in the post-fight comments. Yoda's disappointed not to be on the Wrestle Kingdom card. He states that his 2020 goals were to fight in the New Japan Cup, to win the Young Lion Cup, and third was to fight with Tanahashi in the Tag League. So he was only successful with the Young Lion Cup one there, I believe. Or was he in the New Japan Cup? I don't know. I mean, I know Connors won the American version of the Young Lion Cup, but I don't remember if there was a Japanese one. Anyway, I guess he won. Yeah, he won the... Maybe he was referring to the G1, because he won that. Well, he didn't win the G1. You know what I mean. C block. Okay. And then... and he just says that he's never going to stop asking for what he wants. He knows maybe it can come off like the wrong way, but... Nah, you got to put it out there, Yoda. You're doing the right thing. No problems. Kid has bigger goals. He wants to be heavyweight champion. And the best in the world, on top of that. And he calls out Shingo. He's like, I want to fight Shingo in 2020. Far out, kid. Like, just too much, man. Tiger is amazed with Wato's progress. And Wato tries to leave because he's just always awkward. And Tiger's like, no, I'm not done. You stand there. Tiger says he's going to go back to the dojo and train and will challenge Wato and Taguchi with Uemura when they win the titles. When Wato and Taguchi win at Wrestle Kingdom, he's going to challenge him with Uemura. So, there you go. Ishimori, Togo, Evil versus Hiromu, Shingo, and Sanada. Oh yeah, I never noticed on Evil's shoulder pads, there's those like silver bits are rifles. You know, Bullet Club. Yeah, neat little detail. Phantasmo is currently in quarantine, but still shows his face here in the form of the mask made by Hiromu, who again has ELP across his chest like he did at the press conference. Sonata's keen to get aggressive with Evil, which, I mean, begs the question, why is it only now? Like, what happened in... What, like, there was... I don't remember it being particularly... I'm aggressive at the G1. In fact, I remember commenting that they're just having a match. Evil double-crossed LIJ in February? Like ages ago. Why is Sonata only angry now? But you know what? Look, I'm glad he is. I'm not sure exactly what the catalyst for this recent change in attitude is for Sonata, but I'm glad it happened because it needed to. Otherwise, that match at Wrestle Kingdom would have been a bore. But anyway. Togo takes a pumping bomber, and Shingo beats him. Evil grabs a chair, but Sonata does too, and they continue brawling. Yoda doesn't have a lot of help or luck in separating them, so it continues all the way backstage. Ishimori says, Wrestle Kingdom will be a Bullet Club festival. Hiromu is still wearing the ELP mask, but he takes it off. He says he's done playing around. He wanted Phantasmo here to fight tonight. Shingo's fired up to face Cobb, but he's still worried about the weight difference. He says his strength is underlying, and they will have a suplex party in the Tokyo Dome. And here we have a bit of a weird match. I'm glad it wasn't at Wrestle Kingdom, though. A body slam match for the King of Pro Wrestling 2020 trophy. Toru Yano versus Bad Luck Fale, who brings Chase Owens with him. And apparently the fans voted for this somehow. So... the other options they gave them must have been pure manure. So you got to win by body slam or remove all of the corner pads. And Owens is here as Farley's insurance, but it also appears that Yano has some insurance under his robe. It's not particularly well hidden. Farley stomps on and breaks the trophy straight away, and then he tries to slam Yano, but he can't. Farley rips off his robe, Yano's robe, and then he's got a backpack on, he takes off the bag, and he pulls out of the backpack a big bag of sand. So Yano was literally sandbagging Farley. Yano sprays something in Farley's eyes out of a can, and then he starts going to work on the corner pads. Farley catches up with him before too long. This time a corner pad prevents a slam, and then he manages to take off another corner pad, does Yano. He tries a slam himself then. I guess he gets a bit too much confidence. He fails instantly. Yano falls behind on another one of Farley's slams, gets another corner pad. Farley realizes he only needs to take off the final pad to win. So he goes over to that, but Yano stops him. Chase stops Yano from getting it himself by retying the corner pad. The referee stops another body slam. Yano's using everything. He's using the referee, he's using the ropes, whatever he can to just stop himself from being slammed. But that knocks the referee down. So as Farley tries to revive the referee, Yano grabs the sandbag, and then the referee is getting up, and he tosses the sandbag to the referee, who gets knocked back down by the sandbag, which was a funny visual. And so the referee missed Farley slamming him straight after that. And then Yano picks up the sandbag again and uses it on Chase when he tries to interfere. And then he hits a low blow on Farley, and then a perfect body slam to win the match. Yano is presented with a new and significantly larger King of Pro Wrestling trophy, which I think he wins and keeps as the 2020 champion. It was presented by the president, Sugar Biashi. And at Wrestle Kingdom, the defendable trophy, the other one, I guess the broken one, that'll be vacant and renamed, presumably, the King of Pro Wrestling 2021 trophy. So, it was a silly match, but it was entertaining. Owens backstage says this isn't over, and he looks toward the Battle Royale. Or just Battle Royal, isn't it? I've got Battle Royale there. It's not a burger. At Wrestle Kingdom, Farley calls it a conspiracy. Yano says no one believed he could slam Farley except his two babies, which is the two trophies that he's holding. Next we had Hanare and Kojima versus Kenta and White with Gato. And Kenta gets his first look at his new opponent. So, because Kojima was actually, I'm sure I mentioned this from the press conference. He was replacing Juice, but they still set up an angle here to kind of, I don't know, just so they have something for the little video before the match, I suppose. So, I did some searching here on cagematch.net, one of my favorite sites, and Kenta and Kojima have never met in singles action, according to that. And they've only, before this match, only twice they've met in competition. Once in a tag match for New Japan last year, and once in a tag match for Noah back in 2013. And Kenta is on the winning side on both of those occasions. He goes on to be on the winning side on this match as well. That's despite Hanare being as fired up as ever. Still trying to prove himself for a match at the Dome, which is not going to happen. Kenta gets some machine gun chops from Koji, comes back with machine gun elbows, and then mocks Kojima's catchphrase before hitting a flying clothesline. Koji fights out of a go-to-sleep attempt, then reverses a suplex attempt with a brainbuster. Hanare has a proper old go at Jay White, like really overpowering him at one point, getting a 2 count with a Samoan drop. And White can't regain control and needs Kenta to do the work for him, who hits... oh no, this is still Hanare. This is on Jay White. He goes spinning back elbow, spinning back kick, big rugby tackle, and then he's going for the Toa bottom, but that's when Jay White reverses it. Sleeper suplex, Blade Runner wins. So, despite not being the victors, Kojima stays in the ring, calls Kenta back to it, and Kenta's like, yeah, that's okay, to White and Gato. He's like, you can fall back, I can handle this. Goes back to the ring. Kojima says he's sorry that Juice is out with injury, but time waits for no man, and he, after recently turning 50, would like Kenta to accept his challenge instead. Kenta tries a cheap shot with the briefcase. Kojima counters with an elbow, hits a cutter, goes to line up the lariat, but Kenta bails and Gato runs back down to make sure that he doesn't have this briefcase taken as well. And then backstage, Hinari is frustrated with not having got the job done despite feeling like he came really close to getting a big win there. He says in Japanese, he says that next year he will be the most determined foreigner. Kojima reveals it was an eye injury for Juice, so yeah, I guess it orbital, but whatever. He says he hopes Juice returns soon, but he will get a win over Kenta and be at his best. Then Kenta backstage, he accepts the challenge. White tries to pick the referee for his January 5th match. He says he wants it to be the short, chubby, tanned one, not the short, chubby, pale one, and not the one with the red shoes. So, I don't know. I feel like it's probably going to be red shoes, but we've only got a couple of matches left here. Khan, Cobb, Ospreay with Priestley, Honma, Tanahashi, Okada. The Empire get a jump on their opponents, like before the bell, and Red Shoes just like throws his hands up like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do about this? I am merely the referee. Anyway, Khan works over Tanahashi in a way that I'm sure makes no one look forward to their match. He forces Tanahashi to lick his boots, but that gives Tana control of the foot, so it leads to a dragon screw and the hot tag for Okada. And then he goes hard with Ospreay, but that doesn't last too long. Cobb has some kokeshis for dinner. Honma feeding him kokeshis. Okada and Tanahashi begin to work together well. There's another kokeshi that lands on Cobb, but eventually Honma is beaten with the Tour of the Islands. And then Priestley slides in a chair, but before the Empire can take out Tanahashi, Okada makes a save. They beat down him instead. Okan makes another micless speech. Before he can finish though, Tanahashi comes back in with a chair and pounds on him. Hits him once, he goes down, hits him in the back 1, 2, 6 times I think before finally being held back. And he smiles as the crowd claps approvingly. And Tanahashi and Okada shake hands before leaving the ring. Okada says the people were shocked to see Tanahashi so furious, but he knows that they understood that the wrestlers can actually understand what the fans mean, even though all they can do is applaud. He says that Ospreay's back isn't strong enough to be carrying the load that he has to carry. Tanahashi says those actions were him at his worst, and hitting a man with steel is sickening. He wants to start 2021 off right and defeat Khan easily. Cobb addresses Shingo's words at the press conference about talking too much, which he, somewhat follows, which is great. I wish Ospreay did. He starts yelling about, he's speaking in third person. It's such a pro wrestling promo. It's so fake. It's so, this is how I've seen other people do it. And no one would ever speak like this in real life. That's what's good about a lot of the other, like the Japanese guys, they just talk like it's a sport, except the one guy on Ospreay's team. Well, actually, Evil is kind of similar, but I'm just talking about in general. Just talk normally. Anyway, he's calling himself the Commonwealth Kingpin, which is dumb. Okay, main event, Sho and Ibushi versus Bushi and Naito. And Naito, despite being close to this main event, he's not shy about taking the fight beyond the ring. They're slamming each other into the barricades. There's a poison rana from Naito, and then Ibushi comes back with a hard lariat. There's a Destino attempt on Ibushi, but it gets reversed. Actually, no, he hits a Destino on Ibushi, but then when he tries it on Sho reverses it into a shock arrow. And then Bushi runs in with an MX, so everyone's down. Because, I don't know, I don't know what happened to Bushi, but he's Bushi. And then Sho beats Bushi with a shock arrow. Because he's Bushi. And Sho's the winner of the final match of 2020, for whatever that's worth. Naito and Ibushi get back into the ring to square off, but then Jay White shows up as well. And he says that this isn't about either of them, because essentially what they're doing is fighting for a match with him, Jay White. He is the prize. He says to Naito that it will be his destino, it'll be fulfilled. He looks at Ibushi, he says, and he will become God. Sorry, if this isn't clear, Jay White saying, I will become God, right? Yeah, okay, you get it. And they're both just kind of waiting for him to finish. Naito even sits down, like they're just bored with him. And then, so White kind of gets done, and then he yells out at no one in particular to play his music, and they don't. And even the Japanese commentary remark, why would they play his music? Like, why? He's not making sense. And that's exactly what Ibushi says. He goes over, takes the mic and says, none of that makes sense. Just leave. Like, you're done. But, of course, I mean, it's unlikely White understood exactly what Ibushi said, but I know he got the message because it was just so dismissive. So, anyway, Ibushi just kind of ignores him from there and just addresses Naito. He says he wants them to perform their version of pro wrestling. While White, meanwhile, obviously unimpressed with his own inability to cause a stir, picks up the title belts. And now it's Naito's turn with the mic, so he's not bothered by that at all. He just cuts his own promo. He's telling Jay, hey, look, if you're going to speak in English, you're going to have to either speak slower or have Gato translate, because I don't know what you're talking about. And he kind of just walks over to White saying this really nonchalantly, like not really even kind of looking at the title belts. And I don't know, it was like a real subtle burial, both of them, of Jay White. They just, the way they were just kind of like, you little pest. Anyway, backstage, Gato introduces Jay as the champ because he just took the belts with him, so he's still got both belts over his shoulders. He throws a bit of shade at Omega. He's like, oh, I'm a bit of a belt collector. And then he thinks, well, nah, there's not really any point of going anywhere else. I've got the two belts here that matter. And then Ibushi jumps in to say that he considers this loss to Sho a humiliation. Cool, man. Then Naito comes back. And again, he's like, that he likes Jay's attitude. That he's so committed to the titles. I guess one way to describe this would be, it's like a kid at the pool yelling, Mom, 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 watch this flip. Mom, watch this. Mom, 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 watch this. Hey, Mom, Ma. And Mother Naito is just sitting back, getting her tan on, immune to the sound of her child's shrill Kiwi voice. And then he addresses the risk of his decision to take a fight on January 4th, but he thinks the benefits outweigh the risk. Then Sho rolls in. He says he wants gold next year, and he called teaming with Ibushi enjoyable and fulfilling, and that he deeply admires him, though he someday would like to surpass him. So I think it was Hiromu in the Best of Super Juniors that called him Ibushi's #1 fan, and I suppose he's not wrong. And then Ibushi comes in. He says Jay's always rambling, like he already got his match. What is he talking about? And then he says he hasn't forgotten his deadly battle from Naito from last year, and he gives Sho a special shout out. That's nice, because that Sho will probably go home and have a bat over that. Excuse me, said that quietly enough. All right, let's oh my god, 150 we just hit. Nearly 2 hours, longest podcast yet. But you know what, folks? Sorry for moving this around. You deserve it. You deserve it because I took a couple weeks off. I just cut out a cough there. I did that for you. And I did this ultra long podcast for you as well. By myself. And I'm kind of tempted to just hit 2 hours just to say I did. But the only thing I've got left here is to go over these 2 shows quickly. Because that's what this is in the end. We were building up to Wrestle Kingdom. It's tomorrow. So what have we got to look forward to tomorrow? Well, on the undercard, or the pre-show, I think would be the free part, the King of Pro Wrestling Battle Royal. I think that's what it is anyway. Yeah, I think it's probably just a take on the normal Battle Royal. I imagine there's probably less guests than usual, given the circumstances, and perhaps more goofiness, given the title that's now there. But whatever, it's probably, it's a fun way to start the show, I suppose. And then we jump straight into it. Hiromu Takahashi versus El Phantasmo. The winner faces Taiji Ishimori for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship the next night. I think I'm looking forward to that match more than what surely will ultimately happen, Hiromu versus Ishimori. But yeah, I mean, Phantasmo, I don't know. I think I'll get sick of him quickly because he cheats so much. But he's kind of funny about the ridiculous amount of cheating he does. And he is athletic and can put on a good match. I don't know. I guess maybe it's just absence making the heart grow fonder in that case. But it should. I mean, look, Hiromu's there. I'm sure it'll be great. There's also Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Great-O-Khan. Not sold on this one, but you know what? I wasn't sold on Jay White going into Wrestle Kingdom 12 against Tanahashi. Or actually, you know what? Even coming out of that match. And look at where he is now. So, it's another chance for Khan. I don't like his promos. You know what, though? I like his promos better than Cobb and Ospreay's. So he's got that going for him. But it's mostly because I can't understand them. Then we've got the Tag Team Championship. Dangerous Tech has taken on Gorillas of Destiny. And I think GOD really represents why I find the IWGP Tag Division boring. But, you know what? I mean, it's a short card. It's straight to the point. I really like Techers. I'm sure they can put on a good match. So that's kind of the undercard for me, I guess, anyway. Those matches there. And then you have 2 absolute bangers. Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. They've already said that they're looking to outperform the main event. And then you've got Naito versus Ibushi for the double championship. And these 2 are psychos when they don't have to follow Okada and Ospreay. So that's going to be something else, those 2 matches. And then the next night, you've got a couple of Stardom dark matches, which unfortunately we won't be able to watch. I guess maybe they might be on the Stardom channel or service, but they said on the New Japan website pretty specifically that these will not be available to watch on New Japan World. So anyway, there's a couple here. So you got Saya Kamatani, Azumi, and Utami Hayashi Shita. It's a long name. And Utami versus Maika, Natsupoi, and Himeka. I'm sorry, I don't watch Stardom, clearly. And that's one of the matches, a 6-woman tag. And then Mayu Iwatani and Tam Nakano versus Suri and Julia is the other match. I wish I could watch those and learn more about them, or at least just how to pronounce their names, but not going to be broadcast. And then I suppose this must be the pre-show on World. It's a 4-way match for the King of Pro Wrestling title, so they're somehow going to figure out 4 people to include in this match from, I'm assuming, the match before the Wrestle Kingdom, you know what I mean, the Battle Royal. I think it's a battle, whatever it is, the King of Pro Wrestling match on the 4th. Who cares? Okay, then you got a real match. Shingo Takagi and Jeff Cobb for the Never Openweight Championship. I really need Cobb to step up here, to show up, to have a good match with Shingo, because it should be really good. If it's anything less than really good, it's kind of disappointing, especially if Cobb takes the title, because I'm feeling like he probably will. And then you got Sonata and Evil. Their feud's obvious, but I'm expecting this to be a brawl, which frankly makes it more interesting because it, like I was saying before, at least it's a new side of Sonata. Because the other, I mean, if it was just a normal match between them, it'd just be Evil cheating the whole time anyway. So it may as well just be an all-out brawl. And I mean, I don't really like those matches, but I think I would hate the match I was expecting more. So, you know, it'd be kind of cool if they just kind of fight all around the Tokyo Dome, I guess, or whatever they end up doing. Then we've got Taiji Ishimori defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against the winner of Hiromu and ELP. I mean, Hiromu's got to be a lock here. It's really not. Like, Hiromu is so much more of a star than Phantasmo. Phantasmo's literally tag partners with Ishimori. It just makes no sense for him to go through. Especially when it's, I don't know that it's the co-main event, but, you know, Hiromu's a star. I'd put him on there. And then in the main event, this is less of a lock. I mean, I'm leaning Kota Ibushi winning over Tetsuya Naito to face Jay White for the double championships, but, I mean, I don't know. I guess just because, did they really jump through all of those senseless hoops to include Ibushi in this only to have him lose? I don't know. But look, which one? I think, no, you know what? And I think I'd prefer Ibushi to win. There's a storyline there. You want Ibushi to have his revenge on White, I suppose. But then at the same time, White taking the championships on paper doesn't necessarily make me hate the idea. So, I don't know. Look, I think the first card's a little bit stronger, but you know what? They're good cards. It's not the hypest Wrestle Kingdom of all time, by any means, but you know what? It's 2 really strong cards. I don't know what's going on with the audience. Hopefully they show up. I don't know. I doubt a bunch of people bought tickets in advance, but hopefully they can safely have a relatively large audience, or at least, I don't know. If it's just a huge echo chamber, that might be pretty disappointing, but I guess we'll see. It's tomorrow. So, oh no, I'm only a minute off. 2 hours. Okay, you know what? I guess I'm not going to pad this for no reason. We nearly did it. It's still the longest podcast of all time. Of all Jim-san time. So that's something. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this doubleheader. This was a podcast doubleheader. And I hope you are looking forward to and enjoy the doubleheader starting tomorrow. Wrestle Kingdom 15, 2 nights. I will be talking to you about that next weekend. I promise I will keep up from here. Until then, have a good one.